everybody. Back in the plunge. It's when the weather starts to turn. It's hard to get it down to a chilly degree. So today it's 53 degrees. I'll sit in for 5 minutes and just reflect. Kind of what I've always been doing. Last two reflections have transferred into a podcast, which I'll try to do with this too. So the audio will go on Spotify, and then as usual, this will be up on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And today kind of comes from two places. The first place is really seeing people for who they are. And then the second place is doing the little things you think about, because they don't mean or impact you much, but they can have a huge impact on somebody else. So, as some of you may know, after I retired in June, I had the opportunity to take a long-term sub position. I was for the months of March, April, and 2 months of May, or 2 weeks of May. I guess it seemed longer than it was. It was actually a joyous time. It was a very unique situation. There was a teacher at Lower KB Regional who had the opportunity to move closer to home, and that left a student teacher either leaving the classes that he had already been working with, or not having a teacher in the room, and to do the observations and to give feedback. So, long story short, after a few phone calls, I decided that it would be a great position to take. So I worked with this teacher helping out. When my time was coming to a close, there were a couple students that really had an impact on me. It really moved me in different ways. And, I thought it would be a nice thing, since I wasn't going to be there at the end of the year, to write them a letter and send it to their house and just tell them, in so many ways how special they were. So it wasn't really that big a deal to me. I wrote letters. I told them the things I thought. And lo and behold, one of the students posted on Facebook, and I think first it was the student's mother and then the student, how much it meant to them. And I would have never seen this had it not been for another former student who serves as a mutual friend. And she commented, and I was able to see it. So long story short, there was a line that was written that truly struck me and reminded me of how we have to look at the world around us. And what this student wrote was, "I have honestly never been so touched that someone took the time to notice me and see me for who I am." And that was very significant to me, because, I think I work on doing that, and I don't know how often I can actually get that done. But it was very nice to hear that this student felt I saw her for who she was. And I think that's something we struggle with in the world. We see people through our own lens, and we cast judgment, and we assume we know why they do the things they do, because we place our own values and our own reflections upon them. And when we can really just step out of that and look at them for who they are, for what they value, for what is significant, for what they believe, we don't always have to agree with them. And oftentimes we may not agree with everything that they believe in or that they say. But we can see them for who they are, the goodness they contain, and where it comes from. And I think that's a remarkably important quality that we have to strive to achieve. And that further struck me from a reading I had read, and it was just a piece of advice that read, "Be where you are. You can only be in one place at a time. Set an intention to be present in each moment. Use 3 words to anchor you: listen, connect, respect." I think when we're able to do that, to listen, connect, and the most important one, respect, we can really have a substantial impact on how we see people and how we understand people. And I think that's the key to this, is that we can understand people. We can understand their motives. We can understand what may have come. We listen to the words they say, instead of listening for them to pause so that we can jump in and have a comment. It seems like the universe is really sending me a message because subsequently I had a student email me if I would proofread the graduation speech they're writing that they're trying to submit for. We have a contest at Lower May Regional for 3 graduation speeches, and students have to read them and they get feedback, and then the 3 most powerful speeches are the ones that get to be delivered at graduation. There's options for the others, so they all have a chance to speak if they want to speak at some moment, whether it's baccalaureate or graduation. But long story short, this student's was to be in the moment. All too often, we're looking at what's coming next. So for a high school student, oh my gosh, I can't wait to graduation. And when you do that, you miss all the little moments that lead up to something. I can't wait till it's summer and the weather's beautiful. Well, we all want the weather to be beautiful, especially on these past overcast, gloomy, rainy days. But wonderful things can happen in these days that lead up to your graduation, going off to college, warm weather, a new job, whatever it may be. And if we're so busy looking forward, if we're so busy thinking about what's to come, we don't ever get a chance to enjoy the moments and the little things that happen. And oftentimes, and I thought this was funny when I read her speech because I used to give an assignment to do a This I Believe speech. And my This I Believe speech to the students, and I never gave that This I Believe speech to the student for whom I was reading her essay. So this was purely tangential that these two things happened. But my This I Believe speech was always, I believe in the moment, because really the moment is all we have. And I would stress to students that oftentimes we're so busy looking forward to something that's coming up, or so anxious about something that's coming up, or we're so regretful about something that happened in the past that we're frustrated and we don't allow ourselves to enjoy the moment. And what could be an absolutely meaningful, powerful time happens or doesn't happen because we're so frustrated about something else. And I'll wrap it up with an example. I always gave my kids the example that, when I stepped out of the moment, I was on a bus ride to Washington, D.C. for a march. When I first met my wife at the time, I just a beautiful woman on the bus, but I stepped out of the moment of going to this march and just enjoyed watching in that moment the woman who would become my wife playing with a child. And as I look back on it, I really believe that it was that moment that I fell in love with her. So I guess to wrap this rambling up and get me out of the cold water, take the time to do the little things you think about doing. They make a big difference in someone's life. And really allow yourselves to look at people for who they are. Try not to pass judgment on them. Try not to put your values on them. Listen and accept them for the person that they are. And most importantly, see and acknowledge the person they are. Hey, thanks everybody. I'm getting out of the cold water. It's been a long time. Have a beautiful day, even though it's overcast and drizzling, at least here in West Cape May. Take care.